أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Lesson number 311, Surah Al-Qaari'a, ayah number 1 to 11. Surah Al-Qaari'a is a Makki surah and it was revealed after Surah Quraysh. It has 1 ruku', 11 verses, 36 words and approximately 150 huruf. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Al-Qaari'a, the striking calamity. Mal Qaari'a, what is the striking calamity? Wama adraka mal Qaari'a, and what can make you know what is the striking calamity? It is yawma yakunu an-nasu kal-farashi al-mabthuth. It is the day when people will be like moths that are dispersed. Meaning, it is the day of judgment. So the day of judgment is described as Al-Qaari'a. What does it mean by the word Al-Qaari'a? It's from the root letters Qara'a. And Qara'a literally is to knock, to hit. To knock or to hit, very loudly. Like for example, imagine somebody coming at night and knocking at the door. How will they knock? Extremely loudly. Similarly, the word Qara'a is also used for knocking something like a cane, something like a stick against a door. It is said, قَرَعَ رَأْسَهُ بِالْعَصَى, meaning he hit with the asa. So قَرَعَ, he hit with the asa. And in particular, قَرَعَ is such hitting, such striking, that also produces a loud sound. That also produces a clamoring sound. It is to bang one thing against the other so that it produces a clamoring sound. Which is why this word also applies to an accident. Why? Because in an accident, what happens? Things, they collide with one another, they strike against each other, and as a result, a very loud, clamoring sound is produced. Many times it happens that when there is a car accident, you hear the sound from a distance even. It happens on the street, away on the road, but you hear it in your own house. So Qaari'a, ism fa'il, one that strikes. Meaning the striking calamity, that which knocks, that which hits. And this is one of the descriptive names of the Day of Judgment. Just as Al-Haqqa, Al-Tamma, Al-Sakha, Ghashiyah, Azifa, Waqi'ah. There are many names of the Day of Judgment, and all of them, how are they? Descriptive. Similarly, Qaari'a is also a descriptive name. And why is the Day of Judgment called Al-Qaari'a? Because it will make the hearts of people clatter by its terrors. The hearts of people are going to be clamored. Why? Because of the horrors, because of the terrors that they will witness. Because of the terror that will overcome the people. Because when you are overcome by fear, when you see something extremely frightening, what happens? Your heart, it's as though it's trembling. And as it trembles, you almost feel it moving violently. So imagine the tremendous events of the Day of Judgment, what impact will they have on the people? That it will cause their hearts to be shaken up. It will literally cause the hearts to clamor. And it's also called Al-Qaari'a. Why? Because in its establishment, in the establishment of this day, everything is going to collide against each other. We learn about the stars and the planets and the animals and the mountains and the buildings, and everything that's on this earth, in the sky, is going to break apart. And these are huge structures. Huge structures. So as they will collapse, as they will finish, what will happen? There will be clamoring noises. Just imagine if one building collapses, even one building. If there are two cars that bang against one another in a car accident, there's such a huge, loud, blasting sound. So imagine if all of the buildings are collapsing and all of the cars are shattering against one another, and everything on the surface of the earth, from the biggest to the smallest, is coming to an end. Imagine the loud, blasting sounds. Just imagine the sounds. Al-Qaari'a almost shows the noise that the Day of Judgment will bring with itself. And it's not just that with the destruction of everything there is going to be the noise, but also with the blowing of the trumpet. with the blowing of the trumpet, that itself is also so loud that imagine everyone who is alive becomes dead, and everyone who is dead comes out alive. So Al-Qaari'a. But Allah says, Mal Qaari'a. What is that Qaari'a? What is the striking calamity? And why is this said Mal Qaari'a? This is intended to emphasize the greatness of this Qaari'a. That don't think of this sound as any other blasting sound of this dunya. Don't think of this accident as any other accident that you have witnessed. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْقَارِعَةُ. And what can make you know what is the striking calamity? This repetition again is for emphasis and also to draw the attention of people, the attention of the listeners to what? To what actually Al-Qaari'a is. Because when you're questioned again and again, you know what this is, or you don't know what this is, automatically what happens? You become more interested, you become more curious. So this is to arouse curiosity, and this is also to arouse fear. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْقَارِعَةُ. It is the day when يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ كَالْفَرَاشِ الْمَبْثُوثِ. It is the day when people will be like moths. Moths that are dispersed. Farash is the plural of the word farasha. And farasha is used for moths, or sometimes even butterflies. And if you look at it, these creatures, moths and butterflies, how are they? Extremely light in their weight. And many times when they're flying together, especially moths, when there's some fire or there's light, how all of them in swarms, they are heading towards that light. They're flying towards that light. And they almost seem directionless. And they surge into one another. It almost seems as though they are very confused. And mabthus from the root letters, ba-sa-sa, bassa, which is to scatter. وَبَثَّ فِيهَا مِن كُلِّ دَابَّةٍ. Mabthus, maf'ul, one that is scattered, one that is dispersed. So imagine all mankind, an-nas, all mankind, they will be kal-farash al-mabthus. Why are people described as kal-farash al-mabthus on the Day of Judgment? Because first of all, they're great numbers. They're great numbers. Because from the first man to the last man, all will be present. All will be brought alive. So farash al-mabthus, because of their great numbers. And then secondly, not just because of their great numbers, but because of their scattering and their dividing. They're coming and they're going, as if they are bewildered, they're shocked, they're confused, they don't know what's going on. You know, when there's a huge disaster, then what happens? People spread everywhere. Those who were in a building, all of them come out, and everybody's running in order to save his life. Each person is running in order to save his life, running in confusion, running anywhere, any place where he thinks there could be security, where he thinks he could save himself. And we see that people become so selfish at this point when there is a disaster that they don't even think about others. Many times it happens. They cannot even bother to think about other people. They're just running to save their lives. And this is the state of people on the Day of Judgment. That although people will be so many, all of them together, but yet they will be divided. What do we learn? يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ. People will run away from each other. Just like moths. They appear to be together, but in fact, how are they? Running away from each other. Each is confused. Each is lost. So, يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ كَالْفَرَاشِ الْمَبْثُوثِ. And people will be confused, lost. This is why we learn وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا وَيَقُولُ الْإِنسَانُ أَيْنَ الْمَفَرُ. Where is the escape? How can I save myself? وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. And the mountains will be like wool that is fluffed up. Just imagine these huge, solid, firm mountains, towering mountains. What will happen to them? They will be كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. Ihn from the root letters, Ain, Ha, Nun. And Ihn is used for wool. It is used for such wool that is of different colors. Meaning, don't think about white wool only, but think about wool that is of different colors. Natural colors, like a darker shade of brown, a lighter shade of brown, beige, pale, yellow, white, off-white, such colors. So وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْعِهْنِ. And al-manfush. Al-manfush from the root letters, noon, fashin, nafasha. And nafasha is to puff up something, to ruffle something. Nafasha is also used for spreading or scattering something through with one's fingers. Like for example, person's hair. They spread their fingers through their hair and they spread the hair. This is what nafasha is. We have learned earlier, إِذْ نَفَشَتْ غَنَمُ قَوْمٍ. When the sheep of a people, what happened to them? They nafashat. They dispersed. They went into the field of another. And what happened? They destroyed the field. And this case was brought to who? Dawood alayhi salam. So وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. Mountains will be like ihn, meaning like wool. And this wool that is fluffed up. Wool that is fluffed up. If you ever take, for example, a cotton ball and you fluff it up, if you squeeze it, once you make it wet or you press it, it becomes very small in its size. But if you fluff it up, then what happens? It becomes much more bigger in its size. Yes, it appears to be bigger, but how is its weight? It's very, very light. So why are the mountains described as Ihn al-Manfush? In terms of their lightness. That how they will be blown up. And as they will be blown up, the dust will appear as like fluffed up wool floating in the air. Just imagine. When they'll be blown up, in terms of their lightness, they'll be up in the sky, up in the air, and floating in the air. وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. You may have seen that if ever there's, a building collapses or there's a huge disaster or something like that, you can see the dust in the air. And what does it look like? Exact description that is given over here. Ihn al-Manfush. And the color is also like that. Pale, beige, brown, orange. So كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. We learn in Surah Al-Qaari'a, ayah 5-6, وَبُسَّتِ الْجِبَالُ بَسًّا فَكَانَتْ هَبَاءً مُنْبَثًّا. Haba'an mumbassa, scattered. So on that day, when this will happen, فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. Then as for one whose scales are heavy. As for one whose scales are heavy. What does this show? That when these events will take place, then people's deeds will be weighed. And when their deeds are weighed, فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. As for the one whose scales are heavy, what does it mean by the heaviness of the scales? Meaning his good deeds outweigh his misdeeds. His good deeds outweigh the bad deeds. Mawazeen. Mawazeen is a plural of mizan. And what is mizan? Scale. Which shows that there will be different scales on the Day of Judgment. Different types of scales. Why? In order to weigh different things. Because we learned that on the Day of Judgment, what will be weighed? Is it just the deeds? Is it just the scrolls, just the books in which the deeds are written? They will be weighed, yes. However, along with them, what else will be weighed? People themselves will be weighed. Similarly, we learn that the records will be weighed, the deeds will be weighed. For example, with regards to people, we learn that on the Day of Judgment, a fat man will be brought forth, but he will not weigh with Allah equal to the wing of a mosquito. A man who's so huge in his body, very tough, very strong, mighty in his body. However, he will not weigh even equal to the wing of a mosquito in the sight of Allah. He will not have any weight. فَلَا نُقِيمُ لَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَزْنًا. Similarly, we learn about Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, that he had very thin legs. He had a very thin physique. When the people saw his legs, they laughed at him because they found it very strange. The Prophet ﷺ said, do you wonder at the thinness of his legs? Are you amazed by the thinness of his legs? By he in whose hand is my soul, they are heavier on the balance than Mount Uhud. Heavier on the scale than what? Mount Uhud even. Why? Because of his iman. Because of his sacrifices. Then, besides people, what else will be weighed? The record of deeds will be weighed as well. For example, we learn that a hadith states that a man will be brought forth and 99 scrolls containing sins and mistakes and errors will be placed on one side of the balance. Just imagine 99 scrolls and all that they contain is what? Sins, errors, mistakes. And they'll be placed on one side of the balance, each as long as the sight can reach. Meaning, the scrolls that will be placed, those 99 scrolls, how long are they? How big are they? How huge are they? As long as the sight can reach. So just imagine the number of sins. He will then be brought a card. A card. On one hand are 99 scrolls, and on the other hand one card. And on that card, one piece of paper, on that it says, La ilaha illallah. He will say, O Lord, what would this card weigh against these scrolls? Allah will say, you will not be wronged. So the card will be placed on the other side of the balance, and as the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, behold, the 99 scrolls will go up as the card becomes heavier. As the card becomes heavier. This is the weight of Iman. This is the weight of Iman. Then besides the scrolls, besides the records, the deeds themselves will be weighed. Like for example, the words that a person says, the actions that a person does. For instance, we learned about kalimatan khafifatan ala al-lisan, thaqilatan fil mizan. 2 words, 2 statements, and they are very heavy on the scale. What does it show? That deeds will also be weighed on the Day of Judgment. So فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. So as for he whose scales are heavy, they are heavy. How are they heavy? Because of Iman, because of righteous deeds. فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. So that person will be in a pleasant life. He will live a very happy life. Isha, a life that is radiyah. What is Isha? Isha is such a life, I mentioned to you earlier, that is enjoyed or that is fully experienced by the one who is living it. Like for example, a table also has a life. Your computer also has a life. Similarly, your clothes even have a life. Meaning, a certain time period for which they exist. And after which they cannot function anymore. But the life of a table, can it ever be compared with the life of a human being? No. Because the table, wherever it's put, whatever is done on it, it's done. I mean, the table cannot do anything, it doesn't feel anything, doesn't experience anything. However, a person, he gets to see, he gets to listen, he gets to eat, drink, enjoy, talk, experience. So Isha is such life that is full of experience. So he will have an Isha, a life that is radiyah. Radiyah meaning satisfying, pleasant, happy. He will be happy with it. He will be satisfied in it. And where is this life? This life is only in Jannah. This life is not possible in this dunya. Ishatul radiyah is only in Jannah. Why? Because it is only in Jannah that a person will not suffer from any fatigue. That a person will not suffer from any exhaustion, any pain, any difficulty, any sadness, any fear. This is only possible in Jannah. فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. On the other hand, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. But as for one whose scales are light, خَفَّت, خَفَافَ, خَفِيف. What does خَفِيف mean? To be light in weight. So as for he whose scales are light, and by the way, the word mawazin is a plural of mizan as well as mawzoon. Because mawzoon is what? That which is weighed. So what is going to be weighed on that day? People themselves, their deeds, as well as the records. So as for the one whose scales are light, what does it mean by this? What is it that makes a person's scales light on the Day of Judgment? That when the bad deeds outweigh the good deeds. So the good deeds basically are not enough. They are not enough. Or they are cancelled out by the sins of the person. They are cancelled out by the sins of the person. So this is one cause. Another cause is that a person does not have any good deeds to show. A person has No good deeds to show, which is why his scales are light. Why is it that he doesn't have any good deeds to show? Because all of his good deeds are not considered good deeds. They're not accepted as good deeds. And what is it that makes a deed qualified as a good deed? Two conditions, right? Iman, meaning ikhlas, and secondly, according to the instructions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, according to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if a deed does not fulfill these two conditions, it will not carry any weight on the Day of Judgment, no matter how many they are, no matter how many those deeds are. Which is why we learn that the deeds of the disbelievers will be brought, and what will happen to them? They'll be turned into ashes, dust, dispersed. So وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. Why are his scales light? What are the two reasons? That first of all, the bad deeds outweigh the good deeds. And secondly, there are no good deeds. فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. Then his refuge will be an abyss. فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. His is going to be hawiyah, hellfire. What does mean? Mother. And hawiyah is from the root letters hawawiyah. Hawa yahwi literally means to fall. وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا hawa. From the same root is the word hawa, which is used for desires. Why? Because even they make a person fall. When a person pursues his desires, and what happens? He falls in the sight of Allah. And hawiyah, this is one of the descriptive names of hellfire. Why is it described as hawiyah? Because hellfire is very deep. It's very deep. So فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. Now what does it mean by this? That his is going to be hawiyah. If you think about it, the mother, is mother. The mother is someone whom a child goes to for shelter, for comfort. Meaning when he can go nowhere else, or he's not comfortable anywhere else, when he's rejected from everyone, every place, for whatever reason, who does he go to? Who does he always go to? His mother. For example, a child, if he gets hurt, who is he going to run to? His mother. Yes, there are other family members as well, whom the child loves, but at that time, who does he want? The mother. So فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. What does it show? That a person will be rejected from everywhere, and his only abode, the only place he can go to, is hellfire. فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. There is no other shelter for him. There is no other abode for him. No other home for him except for hellfire. He cannot say, finish me. He cannot say, I'm walking out of this. He cannot say, no, I'm not going to hellfire. No, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. He cannot avoid the hellfire. That is his place. فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. His refuge will be an abyss. And this hawiyah, Allah says, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ. And what can make you know what that is? مَا هِيَ. Hiya. This is a combination of hiya and who. So, and this ha at the end, this ha is of sakta. It's not a pronoun, but rather it is of sakta, meaning you stop over there. This is very similar to how we have learned earlier, that halaka anni sultaniyah. So, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ. What can make you know what that is? It is نَارٌ حَامِيَةٌ. It is a fire that is intensely hot. This is what hawiyah is. This is what hellfire is. نَارٌ حَامِيَةٌ. Hamiyah from the root letters, ha, mim, waw, hamu. And hamu is to be hot. So it's a fire that is intensely hot. Now if you think about it, fire is already hot. It's a source of heat. It's already extremely hot. But when it is said that narun hamiyah, what does it show? That it is of extremely hot temperatures. It's beyond what you can even imagine. It's not like the fire that you know. It's much, much worse than that. Narun hamiyah. And it is narrated from Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu that the Prophet ﷺ said, the fire of the children of Adam that you all kindle is one part of the 70 parts of the fire of hell. One part of the 70 parts of the fire of hell. Just imagine how intense that fire is. How extreme that fire is. Narun hamiyah. Recitation.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم القارعة ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية.
What's the lesson in the surah for us? That we should not belittle any deed, whether it's good or bad, meaning if it's a good deed, don't belittle it. If it's a bad deed, again, don't belittle it, and make sure you stay away from it, because sometimes we think, what's the big deal? So don't belittle any deed, because you don't know which deed might cause the scales to tip in your favor. What else? That the deeds we perform, we should make sure they're actually worth something. That if we're doing something, don't do it with the intention of showing off, just impressing other people, because then it won't be acceptable. And if it's not acceptable, then it will be a waste. Similarly, if it's not done in the right way, in the proper way, then again, it's not going to be acceptable. So our focus should not just be on increasing the amount of deeds we perform, good deeds, but it should also be on performing quality good deeds. Because on the Day of Judgment, it's not just the quantity that matters, but it's also the quality that matters. We see that hellfire is described again and again in so much detail, in so many different ways, to really make us imagine what it is and think of it as something real. It's as though you can see it before you. And why is so much detail given? So that we can strive to save ourselves from it. Ittaqun nar, fear the fire, save yourselves from the fire. So all of this detail is given so that we live consciously, and we also have this fear of hellfire so that we can stay away from the wrong. That every time there is a temptation, a person should think, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? That in a way it summarizes all that we have been learning in the Quran, that how there are two destinations in the hereafter, how deeds will be weighed on the Day of Judgment, a person will be recompensed for his deeds very justly. So it summarizes the entire belief that we have about the hereafter, all that we have been studying in the Quran.
Okay, let's listen to the recitation again.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم القارعة ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية